part of this interview.
Well, I mean, you could do that if you wanted to.
No, you got it.
She just got home from work and she's got to get the food ready.
Okay, well,
No, I'm kidding.
That's cool.
She could be. She's I don't know what she's doing. She's going to the basement. She goes there a lot, Chris. I don't know what to think of it all. It just
That's where I practice.
Oh, that's where she practices. That's what it is. All of her wifely duty. She's working on being a wife down there. She doesn't do it in front of me.
That's funny.
I kid.
How long you two have been married?
27 years. Been together for going on 28 in May.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. 28 years. Holy cow, you get less for double murder.
Well, everyone, I know that you suddenly start watching this show and you notice that we're already in the midst of a conversation. And I'm going to mention to you that we have a very special guest here. I mean, all on the platform are special. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's the only special guest we've ever had. But his name is Jim Boyington, and he's part of the Jim Diamond Revue. And also the fact, not just the Jim Diamond Revue, but the Jim Diamond Revue featuring the Groove Syndicate. And the drummer of this band is none other than Beth Diamond. So they've been married 27 years. And instead of telling his story, we're going to let him continue. So, Jim, thank you for allowing us to interview such a terrific person as yourself. And as I want to tell everyone else that this is the second musician that went to my high school who used to live in my area but is now currently living elsewhere, which he will tell us. So, Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Jim Boyington, Jim Diamond Revue, and the Groove Syndicate?
Well, thank you first for having me on, Chris. It's really a pleasure and quite an honor anytime I get to be with around any of our old high school chums or something to do with LPSS. I was enrolled there for a couple of years before I went off to Fort Credit. Don't say it too bad. PSS, I went to Fort Credit. But I'm from born in Toronto, but from Winnipeg. And when we moved back from Manitoba, I lived on the other side of the Southdown, on the Park Royal side. So I went to elementary, K to 5 over there, and then moved across Southdown to the Dave Brook, like one street across, and then went to Hillcrest and went to LPSS. So I have friends from both sides of the fence, Clarkson and from Lorne Park. Lorne Park was quite a culture shock for us a little bit. I was raised a little bit more poorly. We had less means then, but had a great time. Hillcrest was a great place, man. I have so many great memories of that school and have great friends that I'm still in touch with today. And LPSS, same thing. And the old interwebs has kept all of us old folks able to be together and see each other and know about what's going on. So I've, rekindled a lot of old friends' lives. I didn't see them because I left the States. I left. I came across on a breakaway. I was a hockey player in another life and went to play pro hockey in the States and never went back because it was just so cheap to live here. And now I live in Kentucky, just south central Kentucky, just north of Nashville, with my lovely wife of 27 years. Really a nice area. It's difficult. Miss Canada a lot. Miss the people, miss the culture. Sure, we look like the Americans, but we are decidedly different folks. And I do miss it. I really do. But it's just too cheap to live here. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't get it. So that's where we are. And we started a band when we got married. Well, I was already had the band, but Beth and I got married in 96. And she's been with us ever since. And we've had all kinds of different members in the band, and we moved and played all over the world together, had some great famous people play on our records, and had a lot of fun. and got to see the world. It was fantastic. And now we're not doing it as much because we're just getting too older, and live music in the States is not as prominent as it once was. So gigs are harder to find, and they're still paying the same money they paid in 1985. And but it's fun. We have a nice little studio thing in the basement, and get to play once a week or so with our band, and we're getting ready to do another record. And if the last one turned out really well and did great, as great as it can be without having a major label behind you, because that's what everybody wants. But yeah, it's fun, man. So here we are in life, coming to the precipice where we want to be ready to retire and enjoy the rest of it. And we're getting close, and we're doing okay. It's very, very nice. Really
That's
nice.
really cool. Have you been down in the area to check out and visit the schools? And
so I went to school. I went to university in the States. Once my hockey career was over, or I decided it was over because of the political things that go on in professional sports, I realized that I should have gone the collegiate way and taken a scholarship from the multiple offers that I had from 10 or 15 universities, all the Ivy League schools and some of the schools in the North. But it was not advantageous to me. It was kind of a given that I was going to play in the NHL, but you had to go through the junior ranks. I don't know how much you know about the hockey thing, but OHA major junior hockey, and it didn't pan out like I thought it would. Mostly, on me, that colorful Irish personality wasn't as helpful or ingratiated as I thought it might be. Let's just say that. So I made a choice to not go on and just keep playing in the minors for the rest of my life, and said I need to go back to school. So I started back at University in Michigan and went to a couple of different schools, and then continued to follow that collegiate thing for about 8 or 9 years before I got out and got back into the working in the corporate America. And we worked at Fruit of the Loom, and my wife still works there. But it's been, man, what a ride. It's just the life I've had, and the friends I meet, people we've met and through music or from back home. It's just sometimes it's incredible. I pinch myself and say, if I told everybody about this, they wouldn't believe me. It's just so fantastic, so fortuitous, actually, that we've had so much fun. And we try to measure it on the fun meter. If it's not fun, we don't want to be doing it. And hopefully more fun and less problems. But life has its hills and valleys, as you know, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. You were mentioning earlier that you actually played with some of the best. Can you give us an idea of who some of these bests were?
I played with a guy by the name of Eddie Shaw, who was we did shows with him. He was the saxophone player for Howlin' Wolf.
Wow.
Wonderful old guy, and kind of took me under his wing and became kind of a mentor, big pal. And, he taught me about the old days and how it was so racist driven. They had to go and back doors and, just horrible, horrible situations. And these guys just kept going on. And that's why most of the old black guys all went to Europe, because in Europe, they were revered. They were artisans. They were somebody to go see. They were not just, treated poorly as they were here on our continent. And Canada was not as bad as the States, perhaps, but he taught me a lot. So he was a great guy, and I did shows with a guy by the name of also was James Peterson. He was another great northern regional blues guy. He wanted me to go on the road and be his guitar player, and I chose not to because I wanted to do more stuff with my band, and my keyboard player went with him.
Cool.
We had Reese Winans. Reese Winans was Stevie Ray Vaughan's keyboard player.
Oh
Reese
my goodness.
Winans plays on our second record. That was pretty cool. We did a big venue show for an endorsement company that endorsed me and our band for some gear. And at the show, he was there playing with some other guys, and I approached him and asked him, how much would he be interested in doing a record with us? And he said, yeah, man. He said, you guys signed? And I'm like, no, we're not a signed act, but we could really use you on this, and I think you'd really like it. And he gave me a number, and I said, "No, we haven't got that kind of money." And then he gave me a second number, and I almost fell out of my chair. And we hired him immediately, and we played on the record and did 4 songs on our second record, which is called "Somewhere Somehow," and that's with Diamond and the Groove Syndicate. Geez, who else? I mean, somebody else, the Iceman, some Johnny Winter opened up
Wow.
for him.
That's amazing. Johnny Winter and Edgar Winter, 2 of the
Yeah,
best.
yeah. Johnny was one of my heroes. Just so many people along the way. And then we played some big festivals. We played the Chicago Blues Festival. We were the
That's impressive.
only Kentucky act ever to play there, and we headlined the Best Buy stage. And from that, the guy, an entertainer buyer, took us to a gig. We went to Switzerland on a festival that was all top regional people and not national acts. And they paid the way, and that was just wow. That was incredible too. We're playing in Switzerland. We had to fly into Milan, Italy, and then missed our connection. And I'm with my broken Italian. Could speak well enough to find us a way to get to Switzerland, which wasn't too far. Just story after story, brother. It's just it's like it's I think of that, and I hate to use it as a comparison, but the movie Big Fish is kind of it's kind of synonymous with that. Maybe not that grand, but like that. You just the people we met along the way and the things that we've done, you would be like, no way. And it's not been record breaking, but certainly very entertaining. Very entertaining.
So, would you consider yourself a multi-instrumentalist? How many instruments do you know how to play besides the guitar, the bass guitar? And
I can play a few. I'm kind of the opinion that you should just try to learn how to play one first, and it's a lifetime to learn how to play one well, or really what I would call really well. So it's all I can do to play guitar and get better at the guitar every time I pick it up. I can play a little of everything. I'm a dilettante when it comes to most things. Piano, drums, bass, ukulele, mandolin. I can make sense of it. Banjo, not at a high level, not the level that I would consider a real player, but enough to have fun with it. But guitar is what I concentrate on. It's just so demanding. There's so much to know. And of course, you watch these kids on YouTube, and I think to myself, holy beep, Chris, I need to sell all my beep. What am I doing playing?
Yeah.
It's amazing. And
the ages too. Like,
who?
Have you ever seen Ellen plays bass?
No.
You should go to her channel. She's phenomenal. She's 9 years old, and she plays the bass like she was Johnny Winter. It's incredible.
Wow.
And you should tell your wife too that I saw, or I've seen, and who's probably like 8 or 9 now. But when she was 4 years old, she was playing like Buddy Rich. She was playing the drums at 4 years old. I've seen so many young kids playing. So, do you consider yourself your guitar playing on a scale from Johnny Winter to Jerry Lee Lewis? What would you call yourself? What?
Wow. So I'm kind of rolled into. I am like a fox. I'm a thief of music. And most players are. I've stolen so much from all of those guys. There's so many different players are in my playing that I've borrowed and stolen, or anybody says that they're self-taught. It's kind of really a lie. I don't know why people say that. You're not, because you've learned from everybody you've listened to, everybody you've watched. You're not self-taught. You've learned from those people and replicated it. So I am the chameleon of guitar. I can play a lot of different styles very well, and I hope that it's developed into my style, decidedly my sound and my voice, of course, but that's what you strive for. it's difficult measuring, Chris. I'm not a fan of the competitions because, you get to a certain level with your abilities and everybody is kind of the same. They're just different. So they've had better luck, but they still have the same ability. They're just different with their playing. And I think that's important to realize for a lot of folks, that they might give up because there's so many people out there that are great. There are. I mean, it's inundated. When I was a kid, when you were a kid, the reason why they had so much opportunity, the space was very sparse. Hardly anybody in that space. Now, everybody's in that space. Like you say, 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, they're all getting attention. They're all getting time, and they're all taking part of that space away from the people that are players, and especially from the professionals, guys that are trying to make a living out of it. It's a difficult thing to do. It's very hard. You have to give up a lot, and you hope to find to be that one-hit wonder. And I'm in the blues, jazz, blues rock category, soul stuff, and that's not exactly popping with pop music. It's not the most saleable stuff on the planet, so it's difficult. You do it more for your fun. And we had a nice, we it was part of our life. We still had both full-time jobs, and Beth would be working full-time and I'd be just playing in the band and running the band and not working full-time, and we would bounce around. And so wow. It takes a lot out of you, but the reward is that, you're standing in front of 5,000-6,000 people and they're singing. I can see them singing our songs, and I wrote most of our songs. So that's, it's pretty cool, man. You can't give that stuff up. And there are a lot of pitfalls, as we all know. We watch the news, we see it in the papers, we watch it on TV. People want to do anything and be anything to be with you and give you anything. And it's so you gotta negotiate all of this. You have to watch it, have to be careful not to get caught up in it all, because you can do it very easily. People that say, geez, I don't know why he's doing that. He's got all the money in the world. Well, you've not been in that position when you just don't know. And most of these musicians that make it big are just average folks, and they're not rocket scientists. There's a reason why they're musicians. But it's worth it. And what you have to give up to do it is just, man, come on. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I totally agree with you, Jim. Yeah, exactly. And you do kind of remind me of Dusty Hill from ZZ Top.
Nice. Dusty, yeah. It's the look, right? So, before this, Chris, I was looking like you. I was looking like a Marine, right? I was a short, high and tight, no beard, no mustache, no facial hair, none of this. Yeah, just kind of nice and neat and tidy. My mom would say, if my mother was alive, she'd see me like this, she would be cussing me out. An old Irish gal that wouldn't hold her tongue, I'll tell you that right now. She not good at she would tell me she would say, Jimmy, shave that beep off. You look like a beep. What are you, a murderer? She's just like, yeah, she wouldn't like it. But she's not around, so sorry, Mom.
Yeah, both our moms. Well, my mom's been gone 30 years, so I wish
Mine too.
Hey, Mom.
62 years old, 61 years old, dead.
It's terrible, I know. But we, you move on and you remember them just, as they are. And
yes.
But that's a very interesting story of how you got into playing and your guitar playing as well. Did you know that Beth, when you first met her, I guess you knew that she was a drummer. It's not like she just learned how to play the drums because she wanted not only to be with a rock star, but she also wanted to be part of the rock mission.
So she first started as a drummer in high school in the band. She was in a corps, so band music is really big here in the States, and high school bands, college bands, a very big thing. So she was the drummer in the band, and when she got out of high school and she went to college, she went to Ohio State University, and when she got out, she started playing a kit with some gals where she was working in North Carolina in a band called the Ladies Auxiliary. So it was the first time she played a kit, and she learned from there. She got started and realized that, hey, this is a lot of fun. This is something I could probably do. And she progressed really well. And then I met her in Cincinnati at an open jam. This is a situation where I was a crosstown rival to her jam. She was hosting a jam in one part of Kentucky, outside of Cincinnati, and I was on the other side of the river in Cincinnati. And you host this jam, and we provide the back of the gear, and the musicians all come in and they sign a list, and we put them up in groups, 3 or 4, 4 or 5, whatever that is. Everybody goes up and do 3 songs, and you get down, and it happens every Sunday or every other Sunday, whatever it was. And I went to hers one time, the first time, and saw her and tried to help her out, and she was doing something, and they were missing a singer, and they didn't have a singer, and I said, well, I can help you out. I'll get up there and sing some songs that you want me to sing with the band, and did that, and she was thankful, and I got down, and then when it came to me play as a guitar player, and she said, oh, no, you've done your 3 songs, you're done for the day. And I said, hey, wait a minute, hang on here. And I said, and I didn't mean it this way, but she took it this way, maybe you don't know who I am. And I didn't mean it like in a vain kind of way. I meant that I'm a crosstown rival. I'm running jam across town. I have some sense of what's, this is
God's gift to women musicians.
Like, get out of here. Who are you? You Canadian? Get this guy out of here. So I went back and I apologized, and I explained it to her what I meant, and who I was, and she understood it. And then she was already playing in another band around town, and we were just pals and just hanging out. And then it got, we became closer and closer and closer. And then, we became involved as a couple. And I said, look, there's no sense in you playing with those guys and I'm playing in another band. Why don't we play together? It would be just a lot of fun. And luckily she agreed. She is really, really, really very talented. And we play very well together.
She is talented. I saw her play.
Yeah, she's really good, man. And
beautiful.
We've been together the whole way, and she's been my muse, for a lot of reasons. And it's just been a lot of fun. And she can anticipate what I'm doing. She knows what I'm thinking when I'm playing. It's really fantastic. And that, you can't pay money for that. That is. We could have 5 people in a room and the band could be playing at a level that we hardly ever play at, and we wouldn't care because we were so into the music. It was all about that musical situation, that musical thing that was going on. It's just unbelievable. The amount of fun you can have doing it is just incredible. So, and luckily enough, we got to stay together doing it this whole time. So that's even a bigger thing.
That's a pretty awesome story. Wow. I love these Hallmark stories. It just, especially when music is involved, it's like you just want to sit down there in your kitchen, following you around, watching you live your lives, and just eat popcorn, realizing this is what love. True relationship, my friend. I love it. So
thank you.
You and her also are playing music together, and then you're in your band, the Jim Diamond Revue, of course. When you're writing a song, what is your creative process like when you make a new song? Like, I know you have to consult her, but is there something that she adds on to you to make a song, or do you just write the song? You say, what do you think of this, honey? Or
that's kind of what happens. I write by myself. I find something on the guitar and just start playing, and something will strike me. And then I think about the story that I'm going to tell, or I want to tell what that story is. And I start setting that up in my mind of how to tell it, how to sing it, what kind of melody, what kind of arrangement, and I will take it all to the band. I'll say, look, I just wrote this. This is going to go this way. This is what I hear in my head, what I hear that everybody plays, and they'll jump right in because they know how I write, and they can jump in and play with me pretty quickly. And within a short period of time, we're either doing it really well or it's not coming together like it should, and we need to pass and move on. And it's usually for me to write a song. If once I get on it, I'm 30 minutes to 45 minutes and it's done. I don't waste a lot of time on it. I don't second guess it. I'm not going to go over it and over it and over it. And did I say the right words? Did I mean the right thing? Once it's thought of and penned, I just go on, and hopefully the band likes it, or, we'll make some tweaks musically. And if I'm not going to sing it, that's the other thing. I don't always hear myself singing the song that I wrote. Sometimes I
Really?
hear someone else singing the song, and we've got other singers in the band. Our keyboard player can sing, our sax guy can sing, and our other guitar player used to sing. So I would say, hey, look, I wrote this, and it could be, it's just I'm not playing it. It's become too difficult for me to play and sing, because playing and singing is a very difficult thing to do, and I can't always do it as well as I'd like to. So I know myself well enough to say, hey, you know what? Let's let Chris try this, or let Ray try it. See what Ray does with it. See how it happens, and if it works or it doesn't work. So it's kind of a, I try to make it as democratic as possible. I don't want to be the little Lord Fauntleroy in the band and just, have everything my way, or it's the highway. That's not helpful. And the same with our performance. It's not just Jim Diamond solo-rama, play guitar, tearing it up all the time.
Yeah.
I let everybody shine, and shine as much as they can, because the public, and if I'm a watcher, I'm a consumer, I want to watch that go on. I want to see that interaction between all these other guys and what they're all doing. And if somebody else is really a fantastic player, let them play, man. Let them play. Don't hold it back. Don't be just caught up in being the center of everybody's world all the time. That's not helpful. And we play a lot of different styles. I think that's what sold us, honestly, is we're a very diverse band. We play a bunch of different styles of that genre. We can swing, we can rock, we can play soul, it's country-ish, jazz-ish. We cover all of this, of the styles of blues, honestly. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was watching a lot of your videos, and I'm thinking, I wonder, it's like you could just very well just be singing, I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went. You could literally sing a Tim McGraw song if you wanted to.
Right. So that's the whole thing. You can stub the words very easily. So my thing that I used to do, if I'm, and sometimes I'll forget words. I got a lot of songs. I'll just make them up on the fly. And I've done things where what I've done, because I forgot the words to another song that was a cover tune that I couldn't remember, I would just start talking about the weather. So I would sing the weather of that day, 25 degrees in South America, whatever it was.
That's interesting. I would do that too.
That was my go-to.
But you would catch me at work or someplace where I'm saying, I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand. But I try to think, but I can walk home on my own.
Right. You can be that. You can be that. What's the guy's name? The guy that's famous for doing what's his name?
You talking about Weird Al Yankovic? He used to do the.
Oh yeah, Al Yankovic. That's it. Weird Al.
Yeah.
Weird Al is a pro at doing that, right? He's taken other melodies and just substituted other words. He's very clever at doing that. But that's, you say that's how easy it is. It's very difficult to not write a song that everybody else has kind of already written too. That's the other thing, right? There's so many people writing now. It's very difficult to come up with something different. Very difficult.
Yeah. I remember during the pandemic that Adam Sandler and Pete Davidson, they wrote a song about COVID, and it became a big hit. And also Randy Rainbow and Chris Mann as well. I think he did a parody of Bohemian Rhapsody. But I've seen so many of them to the point where I saw like 4 housewives created the whole Bohemian Rhapsody, and all it was just about doing the laundry and everything dealing with So there's been a parody for everything almost. I was talking to other musicians, and I always ask them this, and I say, so is it possible for you? Like, I don't know where you get your titles of songs from, but is it possible for you to just suddenly think of a title and write the song and the music around it?
It's that opposite for me. The title comes last.
Oh, okay.
Title is last. The story, usually I'll pick a line or some words from the composition that becomes the title that might not always mean what the song is about. I have a video, I don't know if you got to see it online, called See the Light. It's interesting. First glance, first listen, and I'll send you the link. You can do, or you can Google it, Jim Diamond, See the Light. You'll think it's a religious tune, and by some of the imagery, you would think that perhaps too, but it's in fact not about religion at all. It's more about social circumstance.
Everywhere I turn, I see pain and misery.
The song is got some overtones that way, but of religion, but it's definitely a social circumstance song. So, and that "See the Light" is just some of the words in one of the choruses. So that became the title for that song. But you sometimes, and with they're not all my compositions aren't always have lyrics. Some of them are instrumental, and the instrumental ones generally, for me, I pay homage to the players that I borrowed or stole musical ideas from, and that would be the name of the song. Like on our next record, there's going to be a song called Gatemouth, and Gatemouth is for Gatemouth.
I don't want to know where that inspiration came from.
Yeah, Gatemouth Brown. So he gets Gatemouth, and I've got one that I did was Albert Collins, but it's not called Albert Collins, but everybody, you can recognize it immediately because the playing is very akin to Albert's style of playing, that really sharp, piercing attack, and just something that he did. So I was paying homage to him. And there's also one on this next record that's an homage to Hendrix, Little Wing kind of thing, but it's about a love story. So it depends on what it is.
Your own love story?
A past one, I would say. Something that happened in my life, and I wrote about it. Usually, a lot of them I'm writing about Beth and I, but this one was a past relationship thing. And sometimes it's not about me. Sometimes it's just a story that I tell. It has nothing to do with me at all. It's just picturing somebody else in a story somewhere, and then telling them about me telling their story. I try to be the fly on the wall kind of thing.
How do you ever write music or write a song, and when is about somebody, do you use their name, or do you make it so the point where they're not going to call it, say, Jim, why did you write that song about me? Or we're not supposed to tell people about that.
So I did actually use a name one time of a past flame that went to
oh wow.
And she married one of my pals from my earlier childhood, and I used her name in it. And I don't know if anybody knows who she is. I don't know if she did not. I don't know if she's ever heard it or not. I don't know if my pals ever heard it. But yeah, one time I did do that actually. That was it. But I think the only time, and it's on, and it's about the 401. It's called Highway 401. And it's on that same Somewhere Somehow record that Reese Winans is on. Cool song, Highway 401. It's talking about having a little bit of a race car and running down the road. It's kind of my homage to Hot Rod Lincoln kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, basically, if you're familiar with the Knack, Doug Feiger wrote a song called My Sharona.
Sure.
And that song was basically from a 17-year-old named Sharona Alperin, who was inspired a 2-month-long run of songwriting, as well, eventually becoming his girlfriend from 25 to 29. So he wrote a song called My Sharona. So basically, her name was Sharona Alperin. Now, everyone loved that song, and she came forward and she started interviews and everything. But if I were to write a song about my ex, whether she listens to this podcast or not, I basically wouldn't mention her name. I just say the girl with the funny walk, or the ballet girl, or something like that. And also another girl that I was in love with named Julie, she I would never say the girl I kissed under the, which actually happened.
So,
but I would call it church veranda kiss.
Is there a reason? Are you that? So maybe your personality keeps you from saying that out loud, but I
Oh,
think I'm
she's
a
married
little.
and she's a grandmother right now, so don't worry about
I'm
it.
pretty outgoing, and I don't really. Yeah, it's the curse of the Irish too. We
Curse
live
of
a
the
life
Irish.
of no filters.
That's funny.
It just
Um,
blurts out.
yeah. So, how did your band manage to stay together during long tours, or even during the pandemic? How was the pandemic for you and Beth? How did you
Well,
manage to keep
that was
that
kind
up?
of weird. It didn't go well. There was no place to play. It was
Oh,
difficult to keep everybody motivated. We've had a lot of guys move in and out. So the core has always been Beth and I. And then we found players around us. We're with our bass player now for 8 years. I think he's the longest bass player we've ever had. And we have other guys that are in the band that were in the band previously that came back into the fold, and they're back playing with us now too. But it's all about finding the players that are available to do it because of the lack of gigs for everyone. All these guys that are players are playing with other people too. So you got to juggle it all. We have there's one adage that we use all the time that we mention to people, and this is very true. It rings true for everybody. It's difficult enough to get 4 adults together to do anything, let
get
alone
that
play
right.
in let alone
I
play in a
noticed
band.
that, and when I do, it's usually 3 adults, not 4.
right. So you got the threesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's true. It's just, everybody's got lives, and we're a little longer in the tooth we were when we were younger. So when we were younger, we didn't worry about it as much, and we were hard at it. Now, you're a little more selective. Everybody want people to get along. I don't want to play with. You don't want to play with people you don't like. Nobody wants to do that, and I don't want them to play with us if they're having a problem. So, the personality of the people is probably the first skill we will look for, not necessarily their musical ability, because we've developed players before and gotten better together. Sometimes, and our thing is usually like that. We are better together than we are apart. So a solo act would not be a thing for me. I do much better with the band. But after seeing White Stripes and the other Canadian kids, Beth and I talk about Beth all the time. I said, Beth, you and I can just do a show ourselves. We can just retire, sell everything we own, and get in a van or a RV and go down the road and put out a tip jar and put up the drums and the guitar, and we'd do great shows.
Why
And
not?
we'd be fine. And that's certainly something we're going to consider when we get to that, closer to that retirement place. But yeah, it's difficult to do. You got to manage it. So you're not just managing musical abilities and ideas and sensibilities. You've got to manage families and friends and personalities. It's a lot going on. No wonder bands have managers, because and these musicians are just, they can be a little difficult. They're not the most amiable people in the world, because we are all very self-centered, and it's difficult to be that team player all the time. And you have to work at doing that. I have to work at being amiable and democratic and listening to what the band is saying without being that little Lord Fauntleroy guy or that Hitler. Don't want to do it, man. Don't want to be that guy. Want to be the consummate team captain guy, right?
Love your attitude, my friend.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks.
Do you remember the most memorable show or tour you ever played?
Yeah, I think it would be Switzerland. The Chicago Blues Festival in 2003 was pretty incredible. We were the last act on the Best Buy stage. We weren't on the main stage, but we're on a worthy stage, and we had quite a great show, and people were really digging it. We sold a lot of product, and that's where we got booked from
Wow.
my buddy Norman Hewitt, who has since passed, from Switzerland, came up and said, hey, we'd like to take you to Switzerland and for this festival. You hear these things so many times, and Beth is like, show me the money. And then the next day or day after that, we got back to Kentucky from Chicago, and 5 tickets to Milan, Italy were waiting in our mailbox to go there. And we're like, well, I guess they want us. And it was, it was a lot of money, or for us, it was a lot of money. It wasn't millions of dollars, but paid very well, paid for everything. And,
Wow.
Beth got a story out of that where we're at the hotel, and the hotel's on the Lugano Lake. This place is just beautiful. By the way, they have palm trees in the south of Switzerland. So the climate was very Mediterranean. It was really cool. And it was just like 40 clicks north of Milan, Italy. And Beth's out by the pool, and she's chatting with a guy that's at the pool, and they're, having a nice little chat. And he says, well, yeah, he's from England. He's an English guy. And maybe you heard of the band that I'm in. I'm in the band Squeeze. So she's chatting up the guy bass player with Squeeze. This guy played on that.
Squeeze? The Glenn Tilbrook Squeeze?
Yeah,
he played on that Collins Squeeze.
He was the bass player on that record. So
no way! My world,
crazy, right? Awesome. They're staying at the hotel was so cool.
Fan here. Yeah.
They booked the hotel, and it was almost all of the musicians. We were all at the same hotel. So every night after all the shows are done, we'd all meet in the lobby where there was a piano. Guys would bring down their sax or whatever it was, and we had sing-alongs going to 3-4 o'clock in the morning. It was magical. So that was the greatest festival we ever played, and fortunate enough to be one of the only acts asked back twice. So the following year we went. We had so many cool situations. They whisked us off to this private dinner in the mountains of Italy at a house. The guy was the chef, cooked this fantastic meal. Yeah, it was just incredible. We had a rainstorm come in on us when we were playing on a lake at one of the other shows, and we took our gear and went down into this tunnel basically and set it all up and played to a crowd of about 1,500 on both sides, 500 in front of us and 500 behind us, that deep with people just going crazy. It was great. What else happened on that show? I'm
jealous that you met Squeeze.
The guy was crazy.
Did you meet Glenn Tilbrook and
I
Chris
did
Gifford and Jules Holland? Wow. Yeah.
I love Jules. Keyboard player and I did a show in a 13th century church. It was just unbelievable, and the people were lined up around that church, and it was a lot of fun. There's just so many, and that's just at our level. So there's just so many cool things, and we got so lucky with all of that. And, it didn't make us famous and rich, but it made our lives much richer. And just so thankful for it all.
Wow,
not bad for a kid from Clarkson or Winnipeg.
Not bad. This person meets Squeeze and Chris Gifford and Glenn Tilbrook and Joe Lavis, and oh my goodness.
Well, we did shows with him at that festival too, so we became good friends with them. And the drummer in their band, the drummer with the Squeeze guy, he plays with Van Morrison and
Jules Holland.
No, this drummer Chris Hunt played. He was a drummer within that band from up there, but they had a mix of bands. So the bass player was from Squeeze. The drummer was from Van Morrison's band, and the lead guitar player was from somebody else's band, and the guy that was the headliner guy,
amazing,
Mackenzie, was his own band. And we're doing shows with them, and we're moving around different venues in this town of Lugano. You do a show at one piazza, then you play another one, and you follow each other around. And one night we played with them on the river in Italy. And they were all wearing the Jim Diamond T-shirts. That was pretty cool.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
Cool.
That must have made you feel good knowing.
My favorite, my greatest story, if I have a story, is Eddie Shaw. We're after the Chicago Blues Festival. We went to Buddy Guy's. Buddy Guy has a club in Chicago, and it's a very famous club. And we went into the club, and Buddy's there, and Buddy gets swamped everywhere he goes, and our guys were asking him about, getting a CD and which one would he recommend, and chatting them up. And I didn't really get involved with them. I just watched them do it because Eddie Shaw had just come into the club, and I saw him, and Eddie was like, Jim Diamond, boo, 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 what are you doing? So I said, Eddie Shaw, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. So we're at the bar, and Eddie and I are chatting, having a nice time and laughing. And, he's a 80-year-old guy, and I'm a 45-year-old kid, and Buddy Guy's standing right beside him, and Eddie and I are talking, and finally he had to go, I had to go, and I walked away. But as I was walking away, Buddy Guy nudges Eddie Shaw and says, "Eddie, who is that?" I'm like, oh, wow. Buddy Guy just wanted to know who I was. That was pretty cool.
That is incredible. Wow. I just
Yeah.
want to spend the whole podcast talking about Glenn Tilbrook and Chris Difford and Squeeze.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
so what other artists or bands do you guys draw inspiration from?
Oh, wow. Definitely from Stevie Ray, Ronnie
Stevie Ray
Earl,
Vaughan.
Earl Horvath, Buddy Guy, Johnny Winter, of course.
Johnny Winter, yeah.
Canadian guys.
Neil Young, maybe?
Love Neil Young.
How about Gordon Lightfoot? We
Lightfoot,
interviewed his daughter just like 3 weeks ago.
He's the Bob Dylan of Canada, right?
We interviewed Meredith Moon, and she was fantastic.
Wow. The blues guys, Downchild. Oh, an interesting thing. I don't know if you remember Powder Blues Band.
Oh, Powder Blues, yeah.
Tom Lavin is the singer, guitar player extraordinaire in that band.
All of them, yeah.
And he almost produced our last record. I had him. We agreed on everything, and we just couldn't make it work date wise. But Tom Lavin was going to be producing our last record, and we didn't have him get involved. But I try to use the Canadian guys as much as I can. April Wine, big influence. I love that.
Wine, all that early. I want to be a musician now, so I hang out with these guys.
That'd be awesome. I love all those guys. Gil Moore, of course. Do you know that Gil Moore went to our school, right? The drummer with Triumph. Gil Moore.
I know. Yeah.
LPSS guy.
And so does I believe that 4 members. One passed away recently. 4 members of Platinum Blonde. I believe one of them, Mark Holmes, is a real estate agent. They all may not go to our school, but they're part of. They live in Mississauga, and Susie O'Neill as well. And I don't know if you know who JD Fortune is, but he actually was the lead singer of In Excess. But
of course.
His mother, Sandra Fortune, went to our high school. So a lot of them came out of there.
Wow.
Yeah. So Jim, my friend, yes. Well, those are very excellent stories that my audience is going to probably watch it over and over again. We may not have very many Squeeze fans, but I'll be watching and listening to that story over and over again.
It was really cool. She's in the pool with him, and he said, I played with the band Squeeze. I'm a bass player in Squeeze. And she's Beth's like, oh my God.
People are saying, like, Chris, why do you keep mentioning this every podcast? You always talk about this because I think it's important. What do you think of this? Is the one. What do you think about the current state of the music industry? AI.
Wow, it's
creating music. Basically, who gets paid? It won't be you. It'll be the one that programs.
It's crazy. I get. I'm in control of all of my. So what we really need, what any smaller group really needs, is distribution, a way to be able to get yourself to the media, right, or to the world. And so let's just say I get 70,000 plays a month of all of my stuff.
Nice.
That adds up to $75, Chris.
Oh.
So the people that are controlling all these, the publishing on all this stuff, and I have 100% of my publishing, but they're people that are controlling where the money goes is not the musicians. So 70,000 plays a month of songs, I get a $70 check. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So I don't know where it goes. I don't know how people get involved, and this distribution has to change. And record companies have been ripping off artists all the time.
That's a whole new podcast right there.
Yeah, no kidding. So I don't know where it goes. It's interesting. It definitely doesn't bode well for the musician folks. And now that there's everybody making a record in their backyard, in their kitchen, in their bedroom, I mean, it can be easily done and done at a pretty high level. Some of the stuff you spend the right money and you're good at doing the engineering part of it, or you can send it off to have it done, tweaked later. There's all kinds of opportunities and gear available. So It's interesting. I don't know where it goes. I think the live scene is going to kind of, hopefully it doesn't go away, but here in the States, they're not into as much original stuff as they are in other countries. When we played in England, we had for our first show, we're at a snooker club in Wrexham in Wales, and we playing and playing, and people were hardly making a sound, and we're like, geez, are we any good? Are they not liking us? What's going on? So the Europeans are listeners. They're listening to us. When we finished our set, they stood up and went crazy. We're like, oh wow, far out. So they're listeners. They want to hear it. They want to know what you're doing before they all start jumping around. So it's a different thing, and that's why a lot of people go to Europe, especially to the UK, but other countries as well. I have friends. We were one of the first of our peers from our area to go across the pond, and we went to England first, and we did a tour in England. I got it set up with a guy that owned a club in England, and he helped us get other gigs at other places. Wow. And it was pretty cool. But it's a difficult thing to do. You have to rely. You can't take a lot of gear. It costs a lot of money. You have to rely on these people to do these things. And I don't know where it goes in the United States or in Canada. And in my uncle, who was kind of one of my mentors, was a very known guitar player in the Toronto area as a younger lad. And we talk about it all the time, and it's changing. There's hardly the live clubs are going away, man. I mean, all the clubs. There's hardly any clubs in Toronto like there used to be when I was a kid. And
like El Macombo.
Oh, the El Macombo. How does that place die? We used to play. So you remember the Riverside in Oakville?
Mm-hmm.
The Riverside, could see Downchild Blues Band there all the time. That place was happening, right? All these great live venues, they're just gone away because the kids of today, they don't really care to be into that live music scene. It's just not what they're into. I don't know how you change that.
Well,
they're into what they're into is their parents paying huge amounts of money for tickets to old bands that can hardly stand up anymore. So it's really avant-garde to go to an Eagles show, right?
Here's Mick Jagger. He's going to walk her this time.
Yeah. No, it's
but
crazy.
We have a resident musician, and we interviewed him a couple months ago. His name is Marshall Dane. And are you familiar with the Rockin' Docs here in Port Credit? Every second Monday, he plays down there. He used to be I believe it used to be called the Vogue Theater back in the 70s. But
oh my God, I used to go see. I know exactly where it is, on Lakeshore.
Yeah, Crooked Q, and it's called Rockin' Docs, and he plays there every second Monday. And he was telling me things about the music and how during the pandemic he couldn't play music, so he built his own drones and flew them, and he learned how to make charcuterie boards in wood.
Wow.
And did all this stuff, and now he's playing again. And he was a wonderful person to talk to, and he also took ASL, so he knows American Sign Language fluently.
Oh wow, good for him!
So whenever he plays a lot of his music, he has someone to do the sign language there.
Oh wow, good, cool.
So
very cool.
It's kind of interesting, yeah. And you want to give back to the community.
Yes.
Jim, what was it like to have the song "Tell Me" on number 3 on Radio Guitar One's Blues Top 30? What was it like to have that song?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So we hit on that Blues Top 30. We had a couple that went to number 1, and "Tell Me" was at number 3. And that song just came about just based on some relationship I saw in my mind on with two people and having struggles with getting through life, and simple old rock and roll blues rock kind of thing, and it did really well. Very pleased at it. Those things are interesting because these are circumstances and places. That measurement, that metric, those guys, it's how they gather information by songs that are played over the airways, right? So, and they're a particularly big outfit, or what I understand. So when it gets that airplay, it's kind of cool, and it's not pay to play, and it's recognizing your abilities. So it kind of keeps you motivated, right? People are listening. You think, wow, they're listening to that. They thought that much of it to put it in that spot. Super cool. I have a PR guy. He's out of Pittsburgh, Larry K Entertainment, super nice guy, man, and he taught me a lot about placement and person and how to get it done and who to send it to and what kind of one sheet you need for to cover it and the words and the verbiage you got to use to get these things done. Learned a lot from him, and he's the one that made all of that successful through his penmanship and his knowledge of the industry. Super nice guy. And it doesn't come cheap. You have to pay a guy to do this. And he was really, really great to have.
That's amazing. Wow. So do you have any advice to give to new bands starting up? Well, let's see, a young band.
Yeah.
They don't have a name yet, but they have they have a bass player, they have a keyboard player, they have a drummer. And he's the lead singer, and he says, we don't have a name yet, but do you suggest that what advice should you give us so that we can, get on the right foot?
I think the advice I would give young musicians is not to give up, to try to get better and better every time you get together, make yourselves better as a group, individually, and understand that it's all about a team. Try to not be that self-centered, egotistical, megalomaniac guy. Nobody is above each other, and try to be fair. Especially if you're going to do it as a band, be a band, stick together. It's the stick-to-itiveness in life that benefits all of us, and we know that from whatever job it is. Doesn't matter what the position is that you want to do better, whether you want to be a better ditch digger, you want to be a better lawyer, you want to be a better teacher, whatever it is, apply it and stick to it and keep repeating it and admit. And you got to be able to say some things about yourself that you're a little not sure of saying. You have to be very self-admitting. You have to be able to be very objective about everything. If I've done something wrong, explain it, talk about it. And I think I learned that through athletics, right? You're exposed. If you do something wrong and you let your team down, it's clear it was your fault. You can't go off the ice and say, I don't know what happened there. Did you guys see that? I don't. Was that me? I don't think it was me. Well, of course it was you, you dumb. You have to admit it. So be honest with yourself and your friends and your people, and be fair. It'll take you a long way in life. That's what I would say.
Did you and Mark and Steve ever play together, or did you ever compare notes, or do you still talk music with one another?
No, you know what? It's very interesting. When we were in high school, Steve would come to my house and I'd be playing I was already playing guitar, and he was quite a fan when we were kids. He remembers sitting on the porch and me playing the guitar, and he always thought I was a good guitar player. And he's very nice man, very, 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 very nice guy. But he remembers it. I didn't know Mark played it at all until I heard Steve's show, and he plays Mark's stuff on his show every week, and he plays my stuff on his show every week, and he plays some of his stuff on the show every week. So I'm very fortunate to have him play my stuff. He's a big fan and tells everybody go out and buy it. He raves about it. He's very kind. And I didn't know Mark played. And Mark is like a machine. He writes so many songs. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And these are all good guys in high school, man. We didn't chum around as much as some other guys, but we all knew each other. And what I remember of both of them is that they were just super good kids, man. Just a lot of fun, no problems at all.
You are part of our Lorne Park Secondary School Facebook group, right? So you actually sometimes
Yes.
you would post in there. Good.
Yes.
Because there's so many that are actually members of that. You don't know who's, you go in one day and then you write something and you don't go back for a couple of weeks or a month, and you miss like 20, 30 messages, and it's just too many people. Tell the audience about your bass player, Mark Wagner. How does he fit in?
He came to us because he saw a video of me playing at a club, and he got interested because I was kind of that outspoken, no filter Irish guy on stage, and It was I was in the middle of a solo, and I think you can find it on the interweb somewhere. But I was in the middle of a solo, and people were talking. I could hear them all talking in the background, and I got on the mic while I was just doing this very intricate, soft kind of, in the moment solo, and then gonna bring it back up into a crescendo. And I got on the mic and I said, pardon me, my solo's not interrupting your conversation, is it? So he thought that was a little cheeky, and he sussed us out, and he came to us. He was a bass player in Louisville, Kentucky, and played with a bunch of people. He's a retired restaurateur. He had him and his wife ran an Italian place and did quite well for themselves, and got retired at 40 years old.
Wow.
And bought a place on the lake up here in middle of Kentucky, and been there since. So he's quite a guy. He's from Chicago originally. Very bright, very sharp, very funny, very dry, exceptional bass player. And him and Beth play so well together.
That's amazing.
And we've had other musicians come and go in the band since he's been with us, and he's just the rock staying there. So he's really, really a talented guy, super guy.
That's amazing. So what about John Pleasant, the keyboardist?
John played with us, one of our earliest guys in our band here in Kentucky. In '97, he played in the band, and he was on our first 2 records, and he got a big career with some other guys, and then went on to being a general manager in the hotel business at one of the, I think it's a Hyatt property down in Nashville. But he went on the road with James Peterson, same guy. James Peterson wanted me and John to go on the road with him, and I said no and continued with the group, and John went on the road with him. I met John because he played another band in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and I kind of snagged him up, saw him there, and I said, would you be interested in playing with us?
Yeah, JP and the Activators. He used to play.
Yeah, JP and the Activators, man. Good band, great band. So he is super talented. One of the best organ players I know. And I would put him up against anybody on the planet. The kid can really play. Super nice guy. We've been good friends, and it's like a brotherhood, man. Since '97 with him, and he comes and goes, and he'll be on this next record as well again, and he'll do shows with us if the record pops. So we still get together every once in a while and play with him. So still a lot of fun.
That is amazing, my friend. And you got some really good, solid people, keyboards, bass player, your wife plays the drums, and Ray Warfield, who plays a tenor sax. How did you meet him?
Willie Ray played with us when we got seen at the Chicago Blues Festival. When you see the footage of the Chicago Blues Festival stuff on the interwebs, Ray's playing with us there, and Ray went to Lugano, Switzerland with us, and done a bunch of stuff with us. And now Ray's also a good singer and a tremendous tenor sax player and a super nice guy, and been pals with us for a long, long time. We used to play, I remember just over at the house after band practice, we'd hang out and play Tiger Woods golf, or we would play Star Wars stuff. And we were just crazy, fun kids, man. Just had a lot of fun together. A lot of fun. Really a good guy. Really nice, really a great player too. So he's still with us, and he's going to be singing some new songs on the new record. We've got to come. We're rehearsing that right now, so we got to come together on that. We're going to record it up in Louisville at a friend of mine has a studio, Raise the Roof, RTR, Raise the Roof Studio. Steve Wilson is kind of infamous because he was Stevie Ray Vaughan's last guitar tech when Stevie crashed his helicopter in Chicago. And Steve is the Kentucky Headhunters, very famous band down here, national act. He's their front of the house sound guys, and he has his own studio, and he mixed our last record. So we're going to be recording with him on our next record.
Are you recognizable in public, or do you keep a private?
No, people think I am. They'll ask me. No, not now, because I look like this. I show them pictures of the old Jim when I was I've only been 15 years in the fat body. I'm a bigger guy than I was when I was a kid. Not been long in it, but I'll show them old pictures. They go, "That's not you." I'm like, "Yes, it is. I guess you just don't recognize me." Nah, thank God. I couldn't imagine that. Matter of fact, we were just watching this new show on, maybe it's HBO, Daisy something or other in the Six. It's quite a good show, actually, about a middle of the road band that becomes very famous. And I couldn't imagine being seen like that and having to deal with all that. And we watched the Alanis Morissette one too, and being that very recognizable, identifiable person in public, people are always in your face. Buddy Guy has a club. I don't know how he does it
Well,
at the club
the
every
thing with
day.
Alanis, she was in that kids program called "You Can't Do That on Television," and she was always
Yeah,
slime.
that's right. She was.
People know her from that.
She was, and then she was, and then she was on Star Search, and then on and on and on. And I didn't know when I was watching this, I had no idea that Taylor Hawkins was her drummer on her big tour. Taylor Hawkins is the Foo Fighters drummer that just died of overdose. But I had no idea that he was her drummer on that tour. Unbelievable. It's incredible, and these people have the lives that they have to live. Mars is so small. Regionally, people know us, and we have kind of a following, and they would see us and say things, or I saw you the other day, or whatever it was, but not to the level of those folks where they got to be hiding in taxis and disguises. Holy cow, that's almost unmanageable. And you would think that the fans would have some kind of empathy towards, maybe we shouldn't be bothering them. Let's let them be, right? They don't consider the fact that this is what they got to go through every day. Holy cow, Chris.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, see, I'm a tenor. I like to go out there and do some more singing and performing, but I'm always thinking I sing better if I have someone with me, because I want them to be better than me, so people think she's good. She's a great soprano. She's a good singer. I don't want them to say, "Oh, that guy tonight at tenor, oof." I'd rather sing with somebody. Now, I could front the band, but then I have to go through the whole rigmarole of saying, "You're terrible." I don't want to say you're a terrible drummer, but we should replace you. And then I'm the one that's going to get kicked out of the band. So you don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
But
It's a tough spot to be that
yeah.
top dog and have to make those decisions.
Yeah. So what do you do outside of music? If you're not picking up your bass guitar, you're picking up your Taylor, your Martin, or PV, whatever you use. What do you do outside of music, like hobbies, activities?
So music is kind of probably our whole thing. We're sports fans. I'm an information junkie. I like to always be learning and getting better at everything. And learning is one of the most important things to me. Knowledge is key about life.
Wow.
We're doing a little. We have some other business. We're doing some property management. We own some properties, and I have to keep eyes on that. So I have to manage that. Nothing huge. We like to get together and just go out and do things locally when we can, when there's time. A lot of time with family. Where Beth is really close with her family, so we make sure we allow all that, because we're getting toward the stage. My parents are both dead, and hers are still alive. So I keep telling her she needs to see them as often as she can. So that's important. She needs to get on a plane and go and do it as much as she can, because when they're gone, man. There's nothing you can do about it. So.
I'd like to find out, is there any others out there who you like to collaborate with? I know we collaborated with Squeeze, but is there anybody else out there that you like to collaborate with?
Well, that's interesting you said that, because that record, our last record, is called Friends and Family. So on that record, we have two of our Beth's first cousins, three of them first cousins that are world-class musicians, play on that record, and some of our old pals that were not in the band at the time play on the record as well. The guitar player Joe Literal and Hank Mowry and Nick Mowry. Hank is a harmonica player extraordinaire, has his own band in Michigan, and very, very, very well received.
Wow.
Regional guy. And our cousin Nick is a singer-songwriter guy that's got songs and stuff in TV shows and soap operas and movies that he writes. And then Joe Literal is a guitar player extraordinaire. My God, he's fantastic. And he had his own band as well. So we're so lucky to be able to have them on our record. That was the coolest thing. I wanted to use them because they're just, again, sharing that spotlight with other players that are fantastic only benefits the whole group, right?
Yeah. I
so
like
it
how it
was-
says hand clapping, finger slapping, toe
yeah,
tapping.
toe
blues.
tapping. That's it, man. That's my motto.
Yeah.
That's hand clapping, finger snapping, toe tapping blues.
I love it. One moment here. Yeah, I was actually looking at all your music here. I really love it. From Tell Me, we'll go back to Tell Me. All these reviews for the friends and family, I believe. The Diamond Swing and Rock Hard from Blues Blast magazine. The Rock
Yeah, Blues
Doctor
Blast.
said, "This thing is so cool, it's ridiculous." And then you got one Roots Music Report, a must-have for 21st Century Blues. You got a lot of accolades here, man.
Yeah, we really did. So the
Wow.
Roots Music are the trackers of how the songs are played over the airways. They're all the DJs and VJs and podcasters and whoever's spinning the records all report back into them. And we ended up being, I think, in the first year of the record, we were on those charts for almost 2 years, unheard of. Again, 70,000 plays, $70. But nice accolades, right? It keeps you motivated. People are digging it. I can say, "Hey, this is us. This is what we did." And maybe somebody gets rich and famous after we're dead and gone. I don't know. But yeah, people are saying nice things, and that's always cool, man. When people like your stuff, that's really cool. We the band likes it. We hear it. We think, man, that was just great. And you hope everybody else likes it the same way.
Yeah, I mean that's wonderful. So you're playing with all these bands. You're playing with Squeeze. You're playing with Chris Difford and Jules Holland. Blah blah blah. Just kidding. I'm not jealous. I'm not
I love
jealous.
Jules. I really miss that Jules Holland show.
He knows Glenn Hill. Just joking.
Hey, did you get that show in Canada, the Jules Holland show? I used to love that show.
Yeah. I think you could. Yeah, I think we had that for a bit. But people like you and the Stones and all those who've been playing for 30, 40 years are still playing today, but others just suddenly they break up. And I'm always wondering, why did this band break up, but you guys are still playing?
Well, they might not have been in it for the music. They might have been in it just for the moment and to be that one hit wonder and make some cash and get out, right? Maybe that light got put out on them and they couldn't create anymore because it's difficult to create. I've got, I don't know, I've written maybe 250, 300 songs, but only recorded 10% of them. So that engine, you have to keep there. Like everything else, Chris, it requires maintenance. Maintenance is a synonym for effort. If you want to do well at something, you have to put in the effort. And I don't mind pulling the train. I just want to see a few people shoveling coal. I don't mind it at all. But you got to be involved. You got to stick with it. You can't give up. And if you're giving up, and maybe that light went out on them. I know I can feel that way because I felt that way about hockey. I should have, would have, could have been in the NHL or an NHLer, and it didn't work out. So rather than pine on why it didn't work out for 15 years, I said, well, this is done. I better move on. So I know when that end is there. I remember the day I went to see the movie Eye of the Tiger, and the takeaway for me of that movie was, hey, that's me. I don't have that Eye of the Tiger anymore. I'm not interested in doing it at that level. It's not what it used to be. So I got to get out. That could happen some way for everybody, right? Whatever.
So do you think that's true? So do you think a band can survive if their main lead singer disappeared? For instance, Chicago. Now, we know that Terry Kath was the original. Terry Kath was the original singer of Chicago.
He was
He died. And then Peter Cetera showed up. Now, I started listening to Chicago when Peter Cetera was in the band. He was lead singer. But when he left, I'm like, okay.
Ham.
Yeah, they have some good songs, but do you think a band is good with some of the originals gone? Like Taylor Hawkins is gone now, so do you think that group is?
Sometimes, not always. Sometimes, Journey, when Journey lost their guy and they got that kid from Philippines, that kid from the Philippines is unbelievable. I mean, all the Chicago changes, they still sound awesome. What I don't like about Chicago is that they got the horn guys up front like they were they that just bugs the bejesus out of me that they're the front of the band like they were something special, and it wasn't about them, and it still shouldn't be about them. But they've taken that's that thing I talk about with the musicians wanting to be the center of attention. Those guys are just horn players, and they're great. And they wrote great parts, but they're the show, and the show was Terry Kath or Cetera, or usually it goes around the singer. And they were a great band, but without Kath, to me, they lost their edge. Terry Kath was what drove Chicago Transit Authority. They were that 25 or 6-4 or whatever Terry sang just had so much energy, so much heart and soul, and they lost that afterwards. And Cetera was just a super slick singer guy, right? They became very poppy in my mind, and Ham was good. I'm still a huge Chicago fan. I still love I really love the band. I really do. But it can change. And, like ZZ Top just lost Dusty Hill, and the new guy they got is so different than Dusty Hill, but they're going to survive, right? People are so caught up in the moment, Chris, that they can say the takeaway for Americans and North Americans of these older guys is I got to see this band. If there was, we went to see Little River Band, and I think it was the cousin of the third brother of the second cousin of the second Indian that was the original guy, but the band was still awesome. They were still great, but they're go by the name. The Guess Who, we saw the Guess Who in Detroit, and the only original member was the drummer. And I'm like, you can't call these guys the Guess Who. I mean, Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman, and the other guys that have left the band, I like all the early Guess Who stuff. I don't like that they get to use that name and lie to people about who they are, because you're not, this is a different lineup. And I guess if whoever owns the name, they can do that. But yeah, I think it can be survived. But I think you got to stick to it, man. You got to be willing to say, you know what, this is shitty right now, but it's going to get better. And
do you think Rolling Stones are going to jump the shark because Charlie passed away?
No, they're gonna ride it out. It's a shame about Charlie, and those guys aren't long in the tooth anyways. But why they still want money or want to do it shows you what kind of egos that they have. They should just be walking away. Even Sir Paul, give it up, Paul. Come on, guys. They're just fantastic. And I saw that special. I don't know if you've seen it, the Get Back thing about the Beatles. I was never, and I call them the Bugs. I was never a Bugs fan, huge fan, but when I saw it, Paul, just this genius guy, genius, so good.
Well, when you're talking about having all these songs you wrote, apparently when he was writing songs, there's still some Beatles songs yet to be released.
Yeah.
And I heard from the grapevine that when Paul McCartney wrote songs, he said that he didn't like most of them, and he never actually released a lot of them.
Huh.
But there is a song called "Lost" from Linkin Park. Their first album, Meteora, they were supposed to have 13 songs on it, but they only had 12. That song, "Lost," they just released it. It was supposed to be on the first album, but he decided to release that 13th song from that album, and it's a beautiful song. It's called "Lost."
Wow.
So, and Prince and David Bowie, they all have songs that they could probably release 10, 20 more albums 20, 30 years after they've passed away, So that's
I'm sure Tom Petty does too.
Oh, Tom Petty, yeah, I forgot the Heartbreakers, yeah. Like
the
Heartbreakers.
Michael Jackson. I mean, all those recently, those guys, Michael Jackson, Prince, Tom Petty. Wow, crazy. And they just got caught up in that drug thing, right? Wow.
Well, I know that probably the time has really gone by for you, so we can end the stream.
I won't push you.
Dusty, I mean, Jim. Sorry.
Dusty. Easy, Sparky.
Okay, Jim.
Thanks, Chris.
Really nice to meet you. And
you too. Cool.
Okay, great, Jim. I really appreciate that.
Chris, thanks, buddy.
You're very welcome. Everyone, this is Jim Boyington from Jim Diamond Revue, and we're going to be linking his music down below and his descriptions and where you can find him on social media. Jim, if there are reason people will download your music and listen to it, do you have a final word for them?
Thank you so much for being listeners, and try to keep live music and original music alive in our world, and support your local musician wherever you can go.
Really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Jim, for being on our podcast.